Hello everyone. If you were absent today, please start reviewing what we did in class by watching this video. You need to watch from 4:56 to 10 minutes, and it will go over what we did in class on Monday and give you a quick review on what we did. And then I want you to take a look at the next 4 slides. There are 4 questions that I want you to make sure you understand. This one is again a summary of what we learned yesterday, and then here are 4 questions that I want you to look over yourself, since people didn't do too well on these questions. And the correct answers are, pause your video and then come back after you already answered yourself. The correct answer for the first question is A. The correct answer for this question is A as well. Correct answer for this one is B, and correct answer for this one is A. All right, so this is what we officially did in class today. This is the new material that we're learning today and tomorrow. If there is going to be a snow day tomorrow, I will make another video just like this so that you can learn it on your own, and we'll talk about it again on Thursday if we have class on Thursday. So cladogram, the word cladogram, it means the family tree for evolution, basically. So you have a family tree. You all know what a family tree is. A family tree tells you the history of your family, who's alive today, who gave birth to who are the ancestors of your family, and which ancestor was born when. So if an ancestor was born earlier than another ancestor, you would know that. A cladogram shows evolutionary history, which means that it shows you when certain species are evolved and who are the common ancestors of different species. So the first part I want to talk about is a certain misconception that a lot of people have. Because human beings are advanced in a lot of ways, we can build buildings, we can make trains, we can make cars, we can even clone other animals. So all of those things are very fancy and advanced things that we're doing. However, if you're talking about advancement evolutionarily, there is no one organism that is more advanced than other organisms. You all made it to today. If you are not an extinct species, you all went through reproduction and survival and natural selection and are living today. That means we're all equally as advanced because we are adapted to the environment and we're living just fine. We're not more advanced than other animals. You also cannot say that monkeys are the ancestors of humans because monkeys exist today. Humans also exist today. You and monkeys have a common ancestor at one point in life, but monkeys are not your ancestors. Same thing as human and fish. Human and fish have a common ancestor at one point, but fish is not the ancestor of human. Well, but there is a certain type of fish at one point that is the common ancestor for the goldfish and you. So here's our guided note. The first part is about descent with modification. It's a central idea for evolution and how organisms came about. Descent means there is the production of offspring from one generation to the next. With modification means from generation to generation, there's mutations and all different kinds of, there's meiosis, sexual selection, asexual selection, asexual and sexual reproduction, I meant. All of these things allow the modification of the genome. So as more offsprings are being produced and the genome is being altered, there's descent with modification, which allows different species to come about. So there's the seeing of change over time, and there's the descent. The next part is about common ancestor. The central idea of biological evolution is that all life on Earth share a common ancestor. That means you, the ladybug in your yard, the trees outside, Marshmallow, the monkey, the rabbit, we all share the same common ancestor at one point, and all life on Earth share a common ancestor. There was one cell that gave rise to every single cell on Earth. Remember the cell theory? All cell came from pre-existing cell. So at one point, way early in the history, there was one cell that is the common ancestor of all cells. So common ancestor is the important word in this lecture. The descent with modification also produced diversity, and different animals and plants and all life on Earth are distant cousins. This is not an example of evolution right here because this is change through time, but it's missing the descent part. The trees, the leaves are falling off the trees, but there's no babies being made. There's no descent. All life has history. Life has history. There are changes occurring. All life share a common ancestor. So these two are just on your notes. Next word, big word here for us, cladograms. Again, cladograms are the family trees for evolution. It tells you inheritance patterns. So it tells you what organisms are alive right now, what organisms went extinct, which organisms share a common ancestor at what point in time, and what are the closest, the most recent common ancestor of certain organisms. So we'll see how a cladogram works as we go on with this lecture. Before that, there's this word called clade. A clade is a part of the word cladogram. So a clade is kind of a branch on a family tree of evolution, of a branch on the cladogram. It's a group of organisms that come from a common ancestor. If you cut a branch off the tree, you could remove all the organisms that make up a clade. So here we go. If you cut off a branch, right? See, we have a tree over here. You have the root, you have the tips, and you can put different types of organisms, different types of species on the top. So if you cut off a branch and you have the whole branch with all of the descendants on the branch, if you're considering all of those species, that's one clade. This is also a clade. This is just one little branch, but it's one little branch and all of the descendants from the common ancestor. So that's also a clade. This is not a clade because you're having organisms from this branch and this branch, but you're not considering all of the organisms from this branch and this branch. You're only having some from here and some from here. This is not a clade. And this is also not a clade because you have this branch, you have all of the all of the species except this one, so this is also not a clade. All right, here we have a very simple family tree, and I want to show you how to read a cladogram using this as an example. So we have, let's see, I'll just use red. There's you and there's your sibling. You and your sibling share a what? You could have a mother or a father, right? So right here. I'll just write mom. Please excuse my writing. So you and your siblings share a mom, and how you can find this common ancestor mom is that you will start with at the branch, at the tip of the branch, and then you're going to trace back. You're going to trace these two lines back until the two lines meet at a dot, at an intercept. And this place is where the common ancestor is. So mom is right here. If you switch this, if you change this into your siblings and change this to you, if you turn these two around and have this branch twist around, you will see that you and your sibling still have the same relationship. If you have you right here and your sibling right here, you still share the same common ancestor mom right at this point of the tree. Okay, so you know that you, your sibling, and your first cousin all share a grandma. So where are you going to put grandma on this tree? You would do the same thing. You find you, your sibling, and your first cousin. the 3%, and then you're going to trace backward from the line right here, and right here. And you'll see those 3 lines meet at this dot. This is the most recent dot that the 3 individuals meet. So this is going to be grandma. So write GM as grandma. Okay? You, your sibling, and your first cousin all share the same most recent common ancestor, grandma. So if you compare this mom and grandma, you and your sibling share the same mom. You and your sibling also share the same grandma, but you and your sibling share a most recent common ancestor, which is mom. And you and your sibling with your first cousin also share the same grandma. The same thing, if you were to switch you and your sibling around, you and your sibling and your first cousin still share the same grandma, so it doesn't matter how this branch gets rotated. The last one is second cousin. You, your sibling, first cousin, and second cousin will share a great-grandmother, and your great-grandmother is going to be right here. G, M. And how you can find it is that you start at the tip of the tree, you trace the line back this way. Your sibling, you trace the line back. First cousin, trace the line back. And then second cousin right here, trace the line all the way back. And all 4 of these organisms have the same most recent common ancestor, great-grandmother, at this node right here. We call it a node. Okay, so that's the intercept. All right, now we have an actual cladogram. And this tree is a little bit different from this tree in terms of orientation and shape, but it's talking about the same thing. So let's see. 3 and 4. Oh, let's fill out the notes first. So the root of the tip is an ancestor. The root of a tree is an ancestor, always. And the tip of the tree is always the descendants. And if the descendants are at the tip, that means they're all existing right now. They're not extinct. Okay? As you move from the root to the tips, you go from the past to recent. You move forward in time. So this picture is a basic cladogram showing you ancestor at the root, a live descendant at the tip, and time going from past to recent. So let's try finding the common ancestors of all these organisms. Okay, 3 and 4 share a most recent common ancestor right here. Because if you trace the line back from 3 and 4, they meet right here. This is where their most recent common ancestor is. And if you look at the path from past to recent, this is earlier in time, right? Then this is recent. This is now. If you want to find the most recent common ancestor of 2, 3, and 4, you trace the line back this way, and this way. So the most recent common ancestor for 2, 3, and 4 is right here. The last one is where can we find the most recent common ancestor for 1, 2, 3, and 4? That would be right here, because if you trace the line this way, this way, this way, and this way, all 4 of those meet right here. So this is the most recent common ancestor of 1, 2, 3, and 4. And as you can see, if you look at the timeline, this is much earlier in time. So this most recent common ancestor no longer exists. 1, 2, 3, and 4 are organisms that do exist.